Okay, we're back. It's COMP2068 and it's week 11, lesson 11, part 2. And we're talking about web fonts and bitmap fonts. I might break this lesson up a little bit, this part of the lesson, because web fonts are pretty quick. Bitmap fonts are a pain in the ass, right? And it's going to take us the rest of the day to do, right? As you'll see. So let's do web fonts. So again, right now, if you look at my game, here's my game, right? And if I look at my Solution Explorer, inside my constants, I've defined a font that says Consolus, right? That is my font family, right? Well, that font family, Consolus, is built in to my Windows, right? So again, and Consolus, chances are there's a related font, even if you don't have Consolus online, you know, for my stuff, it's definitely something that's built in. I can use any font that's defined in my system. But what if I want to use a web font that I want to share both on the HTML page as well as in my canvas? Well, I can use CSS3 to create my web font. First, you need to find a compatible font. And let's say I want to find a font that's really cool for me, right? So I'm going to go online, and let's say I want to kind of find a retro plain font or something like that. So, I don't know, I'm going to search retro, arcade font, right? There's some retro arcade fonts. I'm going to kind of look at some images of fonts, right? There's one, a retro kind of arcade font, one that has a little bit of a background, right? And that's not bad. This one here is okay, but I got to picture what goes well with my my curl is retro font space. Something that goes well with my game, like this magnetic elevation font might look good. There might be other ones that look really cool, like this one might be okay, right? And so again, I find a font that I really like. I'm just going to choose one now. And let's choose this one because I didn't use this one yet. And if you notice, there's a bit of break in the font, so it makes it look kind of cool. All right, let's see if I can get this thing. If it's available to me to download, I'll download it. My Girl is Retro is what the font is called. Okay, I'm just grabbing a font. So I'm going to download this font, and if it gives me the right font thing, let's take a look at it. My Girl is Retro it's a TTF, which is good. This is a really good thing, man, right? And I can actually look at my glyphs. Here's all my glyphs from what my Girl is Retro is, what it would look like. Here's an example of a demo, right? And I don't necessarily want to include it in my files, right? But I want to include it as in my game. Well, dude, doing this myself and actually making a web font myself, if you don't know how to do it, or if you can't remember how to do it, there's some CSS3 you can use. You can use the @font methodology to create a web font. But why reinvent the wheel when we have some tools out there that'll do it for us? So I direct you now nicely to a font tool that's online called Font Squirrel. Right? If you go to Font Squirrel, and here's this web font generator, and what I can do is I can upload fonts that I want to convert to web fonts. So I'm going to upload my font. And again, I just downloaded this thing called Retro Girl, right? I like it, right? So let's just go into where I downloaded it, which is right here. I got to unzip it first. Let me just go back there before I finish it. So I'm going to open up another Finder window for a second, go into my downloads, and where it says my Girl is Retro, that's what it's called. My Girl is Retro. I'll just delete this thing. And inside there we have a TrueType font, which is what I want to send up there. I don't care about the ping image right now. I'm going to move that to trash. And the README text, I don't care about that either. And I'll just call this My Girl is Retro. So I'll just kind of change my folder name so that I know what my font is, right? My Girl is Retro. Okay, cool. Let's go back to Font Squirrel for a second. And now I can choose My Girl is Retro. It's a TrueType font. I'm going to open it up. What it does is it loads it up here, right? And it says there's 89 glyphs, right? I can choose basic, optimal, or expert. Let's leave it at optimal. And I'll make a little agreement that says, yeah, it's open source, and I'm not stealing it or anything like this. I downloaded it from a free and open source place. And I can download my kit. Once I do that, as long as these fonts aren't corrupt or anything's wrong, sometimes you get that error as well, what it'll do is it'll start converting. If you notice right now, it's like 25% done, 60% done. It's pretty quick online, right? And then when you're done, it'll create your kit. Okay, it's 330K. I download my kit. Let's take a look at this thing that I've got, right? I'm going to go into here, and I've got this web font kit 122233 or whatever it is, right? Here it is. Okay, and it looks like I've got my girl is retro demo, which is my web font. It's my name of my web font. And let's check it out. What it does, Font Scroll not only gives you this stuff, but also gives you some an HTML document that it generates for you as an example of what the font will look like. So this is what my font's going to look like, right? At different sizes, right? So I've got some cool things, some bad things too, like these KC fonts here. What if you see this? Take a look. What this is someone has some of the symbols that we normally would be expecting for our font to have don't exist. And so this might be a problem for us. Like one of the things that it doesn't have, it has a semicolon and a colon, but it doesn't have exclamation marks, it doesn't have question marks, it doesn't have all those kind of things. And it gives you an example of what the body text would look like and stuff. It kind of produces that for you. Now for a game, this might be fine. But for a regular text on a website, no. Right? So here's my glyphs and languages, and it kind of tells you where, from an ASCII perspective, how it's going to output the font. This is good. This is what we need, right? And also tells you a little bit of how to install the web font, right? If you want to do it on your own. It gives you kind of a guide on how to install it and how to use it and all that kind of stuff. Well, that's great. But what's better than this, by far better than this, right, is that if you actually look inside the files, inside my specimen files here, it actually has a CSS that it's given us. So let's take a look at this specimen style sheet.css. I'm going to open this with Text Wrangler. And of course, it has, right, my kind of a CSS, all the CSS that I need. And some of it has, I think this is the wrong one, because it has actually the font.
Is this the CSS for the demo?
This is the CSS for the demo, yeah. But it has this other one. So there's two CSSs, this one too. Let me take a look at this one. Oh no, here it is, stylesheet.css. That'll be okay. It's just right here, stylesheet.css. I'll open this up with Text Wrangler. And it gives you everything you need. Here's your font face. So everything right here is cool. The only thing I'm going to change is the names of my fonts, like my girl is retro demo. I definitely don't want my font name to be this, right? My girl is retro, regular, right? I want to kind of make it so that it's, I'm just going to call it retro, right? So I'm going to call my font retro, right? Just cause. Or if I really want to be my, nice to the creator, maybe I'll call it something like retro girl, right? Just cause. So I'm going to save this thing, this change. So that's what this is what my font family is going to be named. These are the objects of my font family. And I know I'm going to put them in a different place. I'm going to put them in .. / right? And it's going to be assets / fonts. That's where I'm going to put everything. So I know that's what a change I'm going to have to make. So I'm going to add this pathing to the rest of my fonts. And again, it includes different objects, an SVG object, it includes WAF objects and so on, so that different browsers can see these fonts nicely. Okay, cool. I'm going to save this thing now, and I'm going to take my specimens and throw them into the proper location. So I'm going to go back here to Windows, and I'll make sure I'm not recording, and I'm going to go to, I'm just going to pin this here for a second, and inside my assets, if you notice, I don't have any fonts. I don't have any fonts right now. It's empty, but I'm going to put them in there. So here I'm going to put in my downloads, and I'm going to go My Girl is Retro, and that's not where it is. I'm going to go to this web font kit that I downloaded with all this stuff. I don't need the HTML document, but I do need these objects here. I'm going to take this thing, I'm going to drag and drop it into fonts. And so there they are. So it's part of my library now. And now what I got to do is I have a CSS document, yeah, for my game. It's called game.css, and if you notice, there's like nothing in it, nothing to it right now. But inside my CSS document, I'm going to drag and drop that other stuff that I just got from Font Scroll. Right, so I'm going to go back in here, go to my style sheet. I'm going to open this up with Sublime. Here it is. I'm going to drag and drop things the way they are. I'm going to copy them, and go back into here. And before everything happens, I'm going to kind of put my font face. My font family is Retro Girl. Okay, cool. Once I've done this, and I put my font family as Retro Girl, and this is the right path, which it is because it's Assets Fonts, and I have to go up one step because my CSS is inside my CSS folder, so I have to go up to the same level, the root level, and then down back again into the Assets Fonts folder. That's why I'm using the dot pathing here. Going back up one and then down into it. Now I'm accessing my right pathing, and from here I can use my web font in my game. So it's called Retro Girl. Okay, cool. And let's go and change that now. So I'm going to go in my game, in my constants. So if I go to scripts, this is the great thing about using constants. Here's my constants. And inside my constants, instead of consolas, I'm just going to call this Retro Girl. Okay, the only change I'm making, right? Let's see if it works. Run my my game, and if everything goes well, my fonts should look a little different. And if it doesn't, there's an error. Let's take a look and see where that error lies. So again, it's in my JavaScript console. It's going to give me an error. It says failed to load, localhost, assets, fonts, my girl is retro, demo, web font, WAF. Well, that's not really the error that I need. It's because all the other fonts are loading up. Oh, wait. I'm silly. Of course it's working. Let's play. It's my score, right? And it's working nice because I remember my mail pilot, I had reset everything manually to myself from the get-go, right? Now this is not bad. It looks okay. And look, here's my final score and my high score, and it looks pretty cool. I got to get rid of game over, and I got to do my front screen, and I know where that is. So it is working. But what I've done is I've hard-coded my stuff in my states. So let's go back to my states. I know that I've done something different here. So here's my menu state. And in here I said, instead of using my constant, I did 80 pixel consolas. I don't want that. I want Retro Girl. Now again, I may go back here and change this later on to make it something like what we're using before. And the same thing goes with my game over state. Here's my game over state, and I do the same thing. Okay. This is my new font, my new web font. Okay, let's try this now. And if I've done everything correctly, then we should have our new font. I see that moment of hesitation there when I went like, and how come it's off? Well, there's a difference. This is a problem that I have to fix this. It looks way nicer than MailPilot, the way we had it before, right? And if I play the game, I still have this score and everything else looks well. There's a couple problems here. It's a little bit too close for my liking to the left, and a little bit too close to the top. I'd like to push this down a little bit. So and this looks all good now, much better than before. All right? But I'd like to change a couple of things here. So let's go back to modify this. So this is definitely one of your options. Use web fonts, right? Because web fonts are cool. But I got a problem. The problem is when I do this Retro Girl 60 and I get my measured width, right, from my game over and all that kind of stuff, it's a little off because Retro Girl is not exactly a balanced font. So I have to kind of live with it. You know, so this is the kind of the thing you have to kind of deal with. Because it's not as balanced as the other font. The consoles font is kind of nicely balanced. This one isn't. So I mean, I can adjust it manually if I'd like to. I'm going to leave it as is for now. One of the things that I do want to change though is in my high score stuff. So if I go back to my scoreboard object, which is here, here's my scoreboard object. I use lives and score, but my where I place them, like this is 350 is okay, but my y coordinate and my x coordinate here doesn't exist. So I want to kind of put it in. So I want to say something like this. This dot underscore lives label dot x. My x coordinate is definitely going to be equal to like, I don't know, 10 pixels. So I'm going to move it over, give it a little bit of padding, right? 5 or 10 is fine, right? And same thing with the top. I want to kind of push it down a little bit because that's a little bit too close to the top for my liking. So this dot again, lives label dot y is equal to 10. So like kind of a 10 by 10 padding. I'll do the same thing here. I'll take this whole thing and I'll move it down by 10. So kind of dot y, and I'll move this down by 10. So give it a little bit of padding because it was just too close the way it was. Okay, let's take a look and see if this is good enough now. So here's my game. So see that little moment of hesitation here? How I went like from one state to the other? That's a web font thing, guys. That's just gonna, and look, see how it straightened up again? How it kind of went into the middle? it's swapping out the font, the original font, from my web font. So yeah, it's great. It looks better than regular fonts, but it's still rendering it. It's rendering my web font here, and it's trying to swap it out. So you're going to get some kind of, especially with Chrome, you're going to get some kind of weird-ass effect where it does that. It doesn't center it. It makes it, it's using Consolus, measuring the width of Consolus, and then swapping it out and making whatever it is, which is kind of uncool, right? But it's okay for me. If you handed it in like this, that'd be cool. Hey, it's cool font, right? Play game. This is okay. This works okay. So if you notice, I got a little bit of margin on the top and on the left, so it's not pushed out right against my screen, which is a little better, right? Let's get some score here, right? Okay, cool. A little bit of score, and then let's die. Now my game over looks okay, and my final score looks okay. It's still a little bit close. Like if you notice, my colon, the style of my colon is just the way it is. Okay, this is great, but what if I want to make this into more of a graphic? I can do that, and there's a process that we use called bitmap fonts that we're going to talk about next. For now, though, there's a few changes we made to the code, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Solution Explorer. I'm going to stop recording here, and I'm going to go to Team Explorer, and I'm going to go Changes, and we made quite a few changes that we see. Like quite a lot of things we've changed up, right? We've added in our added sprite sheet support. So we made a lot of changes there, and web fonts. Those are the two things we added in, right? This particular change, I'm going to say commit, right? And I'm going to go home and sync. So you guys have all those changes now up online, right? In a second, it'll be complete. Okay, great. I love it. And we'll stop recording now, and we'll go back to the crazy part, which is going to take us to the better part of another hour, right, to do the next piece. You'll see why.